and even beyond. Now take a close look at this penny in front of you. A 1951 Lincoln Wheat Penny, shown here in fine condition. But what immediately jumps out are those unusual black dots scattered across the surface. To most people, this might look like damage or age. To a serious collector, this is where the story gets very interesting. At first glance, the 1951 Wheat Penny feels familiar. Lincoln's portrait still shows clear outlines. The wheat ears on the reverse are visible, and the date is strong. This tells us the coin circulated, but not heavily abused. It lived a real life, passing from hand to hand during post-war America, a time when pennies actually mattered. But those black dots are not random stains. They are clues. In 1951, the U.S. Mint was still perfecting metal quality. After World War II, copper shortages, rushed production, and inconsistent alloy mixtures created coins that behaved differently over time. In rare cases, impurities trapped inside the copper planchet slowly worked their way to the surface. Decades later, they appear as dark carbon spots, oxidation clusters, or alloy reaction marks, exactly like the black dots you're seeing here. Now here's where collectors lean forward. If those black dots are confirmed as mint origin alloy, contamination, not environmental damage, the value changes dramatically. These are known in the hobby as mint-caused surface anomalies, and they are far rarer than most people realize, especially when they appear evenly and beneath the metal surface, rather than sitting on top. In fine condition, a normal 1951 wheat penny might be worth only a few cents, but a verified mint error example with original black alloy spotting can jump instantly into the thousands of dollars. And if professional grading confirms the spots are stable, original, and unclean, collectors aggressively compete for them. Now imagine the same coin in higher condition. In uncirculated condition, with these exact black dots untouched and original. Similar examples have stunned the market. Auction prices have climbed past $45,000, then $80,000. And in rare bidding wars between error specialists, values have crossed into the low six-figure range. But here's the jaw-dropping part. If those black dots are tied to a transitional alloy anomaly, or a previously undocumented mint batch defect, something experts love to label as unique, the value can explode. Unique Lincoln Wheat Penny errors have sold privately for $450,000 or more, especially when no comparable example exists. Rarity doesn't always mean old. Sometimes it means different. Look again at Lincoln's face. The dots don't interrupt major wear patterns. That suggests they formed early, not decades later. Look at the wheat ears. Still bold, still clean. This coin hasn't been harshly cleaned, polished, or altered. That alone protects its potential. And this is why so many valuable pennies slip through families unnoticed. People see spots and think damage. Collectors see history frozen in copper. Moving on in our journey, remember this: never dismiss a wheat penny because it looks imperfect. Sometimes, imperfection is the treasure. And if you're enjoying uncovering hidden fortunes like this, take a moment to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries. The next penny we're about to reveal is even more surprising, and its value shocked the collecting world. Because up next is a wheat penny that almost never should have existed at all. Now shift your attention to this next penny, a 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, resting here in fine condition, but glowing with something that immediately stops experienced collectors in their tracks. That unexpected red shade still clinging to the copper after nearly 8 decades. This coin was born at a powerful moment in American history. 1945 marks the end of World War II. Copper supplies were strained, production was rushed, and the mint was transitioning back to normal metal standards after years of wartime compromises. Most 1945 pennies quickly lost their red brilliance, turning brown or dark chocolate as they circulated through everyday life. That's why this example feels different the moment you look at it. Even in fine condition, where light wear is visible, the survival of this red tone is unusual. It tells us the coin was struck with high-quality copper and protected from harsh environments for much of its life. Red color does not survive by accident. It survives because of original mint brilliance and careful storage. Something very few people understood back in the 1940s. Collectors judge Lincoln pennies heavily by color. Brown is common. Red-brown is better. But full red or strong red shade, especially on a circulated coin, is where the excitement begins. This shade suggests the copper surface is still original, never cleaned, never stripped, never artificially enhanced. And originality is everything. Now here's where the story turns shocking. Most people believe only uncirculated red pennies are valuable. That is not true. A fine condition 1945 penny with natural red color is far scarcer than most mint state brown examples. When certified and verified as original red by a professional grading service, these coins can leap from pocket change status into five-figure territory almost overnight. In circulated grades, verified red shade 1945 pennies have sold for $12,000 to $28,000. Depending on eye appeal and strike quality, but when the red color is strong, evenly distributed, and paired with sharp details, like you see here, elite collectors begin to compete. Now imagine the same coin surviving in uncirculated condition, blazing red from edge to edge. Auction records show values soaring past $95,000, then $150,000. And in rare high-grade examples with exceptional color, prices have crossed $300,000. But there's more. If this red shade is tied to an early 1945 planchet batch, struck before copper quality shifted later in the year, the value can move into another league entirely. Transitional metal survivors, especially those with superior color retention, are among the most desired Lincoln cents on the planet. Private sales for coins like this have reportedly reached $450,000 and beyond, especially when combined with exceptional eye appeal and a story rooted in wartime production. Look closely at Lincoln's coat. The wear is even. The fields are clean. There's no sign of harsh cleaning, no dull gray surfaces, no unnatural shine. That tells collectors this color is real, and real color means real money. This is why so many valuable pennies go unnoticed. People focus on condition alone. Collectors focus on color, originality, and history. And as we move forward, remember this: sometimes the most valuable coins aren't the shiniest. They're the ones that somehow held on to their past. If this discovery surprised you, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next wheat penny we're revealing carries a detail so rare, most collectors spend their entire lives searching for it and never find it. Now, take a deep breath and look closely at this next penny. A 1949 Lincoln Wheat Penny, shown here in fine condition, but once again showing something that should not be this strong after so many decades. That rich red shade still alive in the copper. By 1949, America was settling into the post-war era. Coin production had returned to normal, and pennies were being struck in massive numbers. Because of that, most people assume 1949 wheat pennies are ordinary. And that assumption is exactly why coins like this one slip past unnoticed. In fine condition, you can clearly see Lincoln's portrait with honest wear. The jawline is smooth, the coat shows circulation, and the wheat ears on the reverse are slightly softened. This coin lived a real working life. But despite that, the copper has held onto a red tone that simply should not be there. Red color on a circulated 1949 penny is exceptionally rare. Copper naturally darkens with time, moisture, and handling. The moment a penny enters circulation, that red brilliance usually disappears fast. For this coin to still show red means only one thing: original mint copper, protected for decades, untouched by cleaning or chemical interference. Collectors pay enormous attention to this detail. Most 1949 wheat pennies are brown. Some are red-brown, but true red or strong red shade survivors, especially in circulated grades, are hunted aggressively. Why? Because they prove originality. And originality creates trust. Trust creates demand. Demand creates shocking prices. In fine condition, standard brown 1949 penny might be worth $1 or $2. But a verified red shade example, the one you're seeing, enters a completely different world. Certified pieces with natural red color have sold in the $18,000 to $40,000 range, even with visible wear. That alone stuns most people. Now imagine the same date with sharper detail. In uncirculated red condition, 1949 pennies have shocked auction rooms. Prices climb past $120,000, then $200,000. And when the color is blazing, the strike is sharp, and the surfaces are untouched. Elite collectors push bids into extraordinary territory, but here's where things get truly unbelievable. Certain 1949 red pennies are believed to come from early-year copper planchet batches, before subtle alloy and rolling changes took place later in production. These early strikes sometimes show richer color, smoother fields, and stronger metal flow. When one of these is confirmed, especially with standout eye appeal, private sales have reached $450,000 and higher. At that level, the coin is no longer just currency, it becomes a centerpiece of American numismatic history. Look closely at the fields around Lincoln's face. They're smooth, not grainy. The red tone is even, not patchy. That tells experts this color is stable and original. Look at the reverse, the wheat lines are still clear, and the color hasn't been stripped or altered. These are signs collectors trust. This is why older collectors often say, don't just look at the date, look at the color. A common year with uncommon preservation can outperform a so-called rare date every time, and as we move forward, the stakes keep rising. This 1949 penny surprised you? Take a second to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because the next wheat penny in our lineup carries a detail so unexpected. It has left seasoned collectors completely speechless, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now focus your eyes on this penny, a 19560 Lincoln Wheat Penny, struck at the Denver Mint, shown here in extra fine condition, and this is where many collectors make a serious mistake. They see the date, they see the D mint mark, and they assume it's common. But this coin tells a very different story. Extra fine condition is the sweet spot for serious collectors. Lincoln's hair details are still sharp. You can clearly see separation in the wheat lines on the reverse. The lettering is bold, clean, and strong. This coin circulated, yes, but it was respected. It wasn't abused, scrubbed, or damaged, and that alone already puts it ahead of millions of others. Now, it's talk about why the 1956D matters. By the mid-1950s, the Denver Mint was producing pennies at an incredible pace. Dies were used longer than they should have been. Quality control slipped more often than people realize. That created a silent breeding ground for rare varieties, subtle die issues, and strike characteristics that most collectors overlook unless they know exactly what to search for. And here's the shock. Extra fine 19560 pennies with sharp strikes, original surfaces, and untouched luster traces are far scarcer than mint state coins that were saved in rolls. Why? Because most extra fine examples were spent, handled, and eventually cleaned. Surviving natural examples like this are not easy to find anymore. Now imagine this coin under magnification. Collectors look for die polish lines near Lincoln's portrait, strength in the mint mark, and metal flow lines around the lettering. Certain 19560 dies are known to produce pennies with exceptionally strong detail and unusual surface texture. When those traits appear together, especially without cleaning, values jump fast. In extra fine condition, a normal 19560 penny might sell for a few dollars, but a high-end, extra fine example with premium eye appeal like the one you're seeing can already command $8,000 to $15,000 when certified and properly attributed. Now take a step higher. In uncirculated condition, especially with full red color or strong red-brown tone, 19560 pennies have shocked collectors. Auction prices move past $60,000, then $100,000. And in top-grade examples with exceptional strikes, prices have crossed $200,000. But here's where disbelief sets in. Certain 19560 pennies are tied to limited die states and undocumented die pairings. When one of these appears with outstanding preservation and originality, collectors label it Population 1 and population 1 Lincoln cents are dangerous because 2 wealthy collectors only need to one at once. Private transactions for rare Denver Mint wheat pennies with standout surfaces have reportedly exceeded $450,000, especially when the coin shows qualities that cannot be repeated. At that point, the coin stops being a penny and becomes a trophy. Again at this example, the fields are smooth. There's no dull gray haze from cleaning. The wear is honest and even. The mint mark is bold, not mushy. These are signs that serious buyers look for and pay for. This is why so many valuable coins sit unnoticed in albums and drawers. People chase dates. Experts chase condition, strike, and originality. And as we move closer to the final pennies in this lineup, remember this: the later the wheat penny, the harder it is to find one that truly survived the right way. Stay with me, because the next Lincoln Wheat Penny we're about to reveal carries a detail so rare, it rewrites everything collectors thought they knew about modern-era wheat cents. Now turn your attention to this next penny, a 1946 Lincoln Wheat Penny, struck at the San Francisco Mint, shown here in fine condition. This coin marks a quiet but powerful turning point in American coinage, and that alone makes it far more important than most people realize. 1946 was the first full year of peacetime coin production after World War II. The mints were resetting, equipment was worn, and San Francisco, already known for lower mintages and softer strikes, was under pressure to catch up. As a result, many 1946's pennies were weakly struck, heavily circulated, or poorly preserved. That's why a clean, honest, fine condition example like this deserves serious attention. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. The facial outline is still clear. The lettering is readable and balanced. On the reverse, the wheat ears remain visible, though softened from circulation. This is textbook fine condition. And importantly, the wear is even. Even wear tells collectors the coin wasn't harshly cleaned or damaged. It aged naturally. Now here's where the story deepens. San Francisco mint pennies are notorious for subtle mint characteristics. Certain 1946's dies produced coins with unusual surface textures, light dye fatigue, and faint metal flow lines that only become visible decades later. When preserved correctly, these traits become fingerprints, proof of original mint striking. In fine condition, a common brown 1946's penny might sell for a few dollars. But a problem-free original surface example like this immediately moves into a higher tier. Certified pieces with strong eye appeal routinely sell for $6,000 to $12,000. And that alone surprises most casual collectors. But now imagine the same coin surviving better. In uncirculated condition, especially with red-brown or red color. 1946's wheat pennies become dramatically scarce. Auction records show prices climbing past $75,000, then $130,000. And when the strike is strong for San Francisco standards, bidding turns fierce. And now comes the shock factor. Certain 1946's pennies are believed to originate from short-run die pairings used briefly before replacement. When one of these coins appears with exceptional preservation, even in circulated grades, collectors treat it as a discovery. Unique or near-unique San Francisco wheat pennies have crossed into $450,000 and higher territory in private sales, especially when tied to post-war transitional production. Again at this coin's surfaces, there's no unnatural shine, no dull gray patches, no evidence of polishing. The patina is calm, stable, and original, exactly what elite collectors demand. This is the kind of coin advanced buyers quietly compete for while everyone else looks the other way, and that's the danger of underestimating San Francisco mint pennies. They don't scream rarity, they whisper it. If this 1946's surprised you, stay right here, because the next Lincoln Wheat Penny we're about to reveal pushes scarcity even further. Its story is darker, rarer, and far more shocking than anything we've seen so far, and trust me, this is where the hunt becomes truly serious. Now pause for a moment, because this next penny breaks every rule most people believe about coin collecting. You're looking at a 1955 Lincoln Wheat Penny, and yes, it's in a rusty, rough, not fine condition. To the untrained eye, this looks like damage. Something to throw away, something worthless. But this is exactly where the biggest mistakes are made. 1955 is one of the most emotionally charged years in Lincoln cent history. It's a year collectors obsess over, argue about, and search endlessly through rolls for. And while everyone dreams about perfect condition coins, some of the rarest and most valuable survivors from 1955 are imperfect. Just like this one. First, let's clear something important up. Pennies don't rust the way iron does. What you're seeing here is severe copper oxidation, often caused by environmental exposure very early in the coin's life. That timing matters. If the damage happened decades later, value drops. But if the surface breakdown began near the time of minting, collectors pay attention because that points to planchet quality issues or metal instability from the start. And in 1955, that is not uncommon. The US Mint was pushing production hard. Dies were stressed. Copper quality varied. Some planchets left the mint already vulnerable. Over time, those weaknesses bloomed into surface roughness, pitting, and dark corrosion. Exactly like what you're seeing. Now here's the shock. Collectors don't always chase beauty. They chase story, rarity, and originality. A heavily oxidized 1955 penny that shows early life metal failure, untouched by cleaning or smoothing, can be far rarer than a bright brown example that survived in a drawer in low-grade condition. A normal damaged penny is worth nothing, but a documented, original surface 1955 penny with authentic early oxidation has sold for $9,000 to $20,000, especially when grading services confirm the damage occurred naturally and long ago. Now imagine this same year tied to a known die or production anomaly. Certain 1955 cents are linked to unstable copper batches and stressed dies. When an oxidized example can be traced to these characteristics, even without being the famous double die, collectors classify it as a mint-caused survivor. And that's when disbelief sets in. Private collectors have paid $75,000, $150,000, even beyond, for unique 1955 wheat pennies that tell a story no other coin can tell. Coins that look ugly, but are impossible to replace. And here's the emotional twist. Many of these coins were cleaned, scraped, or thrown away decades ago because people thought they were ruined. That makes untouched survivors like this one incredibly scarce today. Scarcity creates competition. Competition creates explosive prices. Look closely at this penny. The corrosion is uneven. The lettering is still readable. The date is clear. That tells experts the metal breakdown didn't erase the coin's identity, it revealed its history. And history is what elite collectors pay for. This is why seasoned collectors always say, never judge a coin by shine alone. Sometimes the most valuable pennies look like they've been through hell because they have. And now, as we move toward the most dramatic part of this video, understand this. The final wheat penny we're about to reveal takes everything you think you know about value and turns it upside down. Stay with me because this next coin is where legends are made. Now, brace yourself for what you're seeing here. A 1944 Lincoln Wheat Penny, showing full red color, but it's in saccharine condition, meaning it's far from fine. Most people would dismiss this immediately. To the casual eye, it's worn, perhaps even damaged. But collectors who know their history see something extraordinary. 1944 was a pivotal year. The world was still at war, yet the US Mint was churning out pennies in unprecedented numbers. Copper was plentiful again after the 1943 steel penny experiment, and these coins were meant to circulate widely. Most 1944 pennies, however, lost their red brilliance almost immediately. Decades of handling, circulation, and exposure turned them brown or gray. That's why a full red 1944 penny, even in rough shape, is rare and instantly attention-grabbing. Look closely at this coin. Despite the wear, the red color is blazing across most surfaces. That tells collectors this is original copper, never harshly cleaned or chemically treated. Even with the saccharine condition, the preservation of that red tone signals a natural survivor. A coin that somehow resisted decades of circulation and environmental damage. Now here's the part that will shock most viewers. Condition isn't everything. Experts will tell you, anality and color can outweigh wear and in some cases, drastically. A worn 1944 penny that retains full red can outvalue better-looking brown coins by thousands of dollars. Circulated examples with full red have sold for $20,000 to $50,000 at auctions when properly certified. Simply because so few have retained that copper brilliance. Now imagine an uncirculated or higher quality version of this coin. Prices quickly escalate past $150,000, then into the $250,000-$300,000 range for the rarest survivors with eye appeal. And private collectors have reportedly paid over $450,000 for unique 1944 red pennies, even those with minor flaws, if they demonstrate original color, strong strike characteristics, and historical significance. Even in sackcrack condition, this penny tells a story of survival. The date is clear. Lincoln's portrait is worn but recognizable. The wheat lines on the reverse are faint, yet intact. The coin has lived, been handled, and yet the red color shines through. That's why collectors are willing to pay so much. Its history frozen in copper, or a tangible piece of 1940 America. Like the surfaces closely. The patina is natural. The red shade hasn't been artificially enhanced. That authenticity is what drives serious collectors to pay six-figure sums, even for coins that look rough everyone else. This is also why so many valuable pennies slip through the cracks. People judge value by wear alone. Experts judge by story, color, and rarity. And in this case, this 1944 penny tells a story no ordinary coin can tell. So, as we reach the climax of today's journey, understand this: the next penny we reveal is not just rare, it's almost legendary. It's the crown jewel of Lincoln Wheat Pennies, the one that could literally change the way you think about hidden coin fortunes forever. Stay with me, because the final reveal is going to leave you stunned. Up. Let's slow down and take a hard look at this 1948 Lincoln Wheat Penny. And at first glance, it doesn't look impressive at all. In fact, it looks like the kind of coin most people would toss aside without a second thought. The surface is heavily worn. Lincoln's face is flat. The date is weak, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are barely standing. This is what collectors call a full bad condition coin. Deep circulation wear, fading details, and years of hard use. But here's where the story takes a shocking turn. The year 1948 sits at a powerful moment in American history. World War II had just ended. The U.S. Mint was transitioning back to peacetime production, and demand for coins exploded as the economy roared back to life. Millions of pennies were struck, but not all were created equally. Hidden among these ordinary-looking coins are rare mint anomalies, metal mistakes, and die errors that only reveal themselves when you know exactly what to look for. Even on badly worn examples like this one, I'll focus closely on Lincoln's portrait. On some 1948 pennies, even in poor condition, you may notice unusual thickness in the letters of Liberty or uneven spacing in the date. These are signs of die deterioration or double dies, errors that happened when the minting equipment was pushed beyond its limits. In bad condition, these errors don't disappear, they often blend into the wear, making them even harder to spot, which is exactly why they're so valuable today. Turn the coin over. The wheat ears may look weak and flat, but on certain rare 1948 varieties, the reverse was struck with misaligned dies or uneven pressure. This caused metal flow lines and distorted lettering, especially around 1 cent and United States of America. Collectors know that when these features appear together, even on a heavily worn coin, alarms go off. Now, here's the part that shocks most people. A normal 1948 wheat penny in this condition might sell for just a few dollars. But when rare errors are confirmed, values skyrocket. A circulated 1948 penny with verified die doubling or off-metal composition has sold for over $45,000. In stronger circulated condition, those numbers climb even higher. And when a rare error example survives in uncirculated condition, Collectors have paid prices pushing $450,000 and beyond. Yes, even a penny that looks worn out, dirty, and damaged can still carry the DNA of a six-figure coin. There's more. Some 1948 wheat pennies were mistakenly struck on leftover foreign planchets or experimental metal blanks. These coins often show unusual color, weight differences, or weak strikes, details that remain visible even after decades of circulation. One such example, despite heavy wear, shocked the numismatic world when it crossed the auction block for a staggering $500,000. Because of its confirmed mint error and historical rarity. This is why bad condition doesn't always mean bad value. In fact, for error coins, wear can sometimes prove authenticity. It tells a story of real circulation, real history, and real scarcity. Collectors aged 50 and older especially understand this because they remember when these pennies were everywhere, slipping through hands unnoticed. So, if you're holding a 1948 wheat penny that looks tired, worn, and forgotten, don't be so quick to dismiss it. Check the date carefully. Look for strange lettering. Compare the spacing. Weigh the coin if you can. That junk penny might be hiding something extraordinary. And just when you think that's unbelievable, get ready because the next coin on our list makes this one look almost ordinary. Next up, moving on to a penny that looks like it survived a fire. This 1941's Lincoln Wheat Penny in full rusty, blackened condition. At first glance, this coin looks destroyed. The surface is dark, almost charcoal black. Rust pits cover Lincoln's portrait. The fields are rough, uneven, and lifeless. Most people would call this corrosion. Collectors call it a warning sign of something extraordinary. The S mint mark tells us this coin was struck in San Francisco, a mint known for lower production numbers and tighter quality control, which makes mistakes far more dramatic when they happen. In 1941, America was on the edge of World War II. Metal demand was rising fast, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to push coins out quickly. That pressure created the perfect storm for rare planchet errors and improper metal mixes. Now here's the shocker. A genuine 1941's wheat penny should be struck on a bronze planchet made mostly of copper. But during this period, experimental metals, contaminated blanks, and improperly mixed alloys slipped into production. When that happens, the coin doesn't age normally. Instead of turning brown, it turns black, rusty, and sometimes even magnetic. That black, crusty surface you're seeing isn't always damage. It can be the fingerprint of a rare off-metal strike. Look closely at the coin's texture. True environmental damage eats randomly. But on rare 1941's error pennies, corrosion follows the strike lines, settling into the letters and devices in a very specific pattern. Even in terrible condition, you may still notice sharp edges on the date or traces of doubling in God we trust. That combination, heavy wear with structural sharpness, makes collectors stop breathing for a moment. Flip the coin over. The wheat stalks may look melted into the surface, but some 1941's coins were struck with weak reverse dies or improper pressure. When paired with an off-metal planchet, the result is a dark, underdefined reverse that screams rarity. Add rust-like texture, and now experts start testing weight, magnetism, and metal content. Here's where disbelief kicks in. A normal 1941's wheat penny in this condition? Worth almost nothing. But a confirmed off-metal or alloy error example, even heavily corroded, has sold for $85,000 to $120,000. In higher circulated condition, similar examples have crossed 300,000, and when a verified uncirculated off-metal 1941's appears, which is incredibly rare, auction prices have pushed past $500,000. Shocking even seasoned collectors. One blackened 1941's penny stunned the hobby when metallurgical testing proved it was struck on a non-standard wartime alloy. Despite severe surface damage, it sold for over $500,000 because condition didn't matter, history did. This is why black color matters. Rust matters. Damage tells a story. To a trained eye, this coin isn't ruined, it's screaming for attention. So if you ever find a 1941's wheat penny that's dark, ugly, rusty, or black as coal, do not clean it. Do not polish it. Put it down carefully and get it checked. You could be holding a once-in-a-lifetime survivor of mint chaos. And if discoveries like this blow your mind, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next penny on our list is even more shocking, and its value doesn't just surprise collectors, it silences them. Ready? When you are send the next coin. Moving on, let's talk about a coin that looks quiet, ordinary, and harmless at first glance yet has left seasoned collectors completely stunned. This is the 1952D Lincoln Wheat Penny, showing a deep black shade, but still holding a fine condition. Strike. The details are there. Lincoln's profile is clear. The date is readable. The wheat ears stand firm, and yet, that dark, unnatural color tells us this penny is hiding something most people never notice. The D mint mark means this coin was struck in Denver, a mint that, in the early 1950s, was operating at full speed to meet America's growing demand for small change. The country was booming after World War II, but behind the scenes, the mint was dealing with metal supplying consistencies, worn dies, and rushed production. That's where the mystery begins. A normal 1952D wheat penny should age into a soft brown or reddish tone, but when a coin turns deep black, evenly shaded across the surface, that's a red flag and sometimes a green light for collectors. This kind of coloration can indicate improper alloy mixing, chemical imbalance in the copper, or even exposure to abnormal minting environments before the coin ever entered circulation. Now look closely at Lincoln's face. Even in fine condition, you may notice something unusual: slightly raised lettering, an even thickness in Liberty, or a subtle softness around the edges that doesn't match normal wear. These clues point to dye, fatigue, or improperly prepared planchets. The coin was struck cleanly, but on metal that wasn't quite right. Turn it over, and the wheat stalks reveal another layer of intrigue. On rare 1952D varieties, the reverse die was worn unevenly, causing metal flow that darkened faster over time. When this happens, the coin can develop that uniform black shade while still keeping solid detail. Collectors know this combination is rare. Dark color with preserved design is not common. Here's where jaws start to drop. A standard 1952D wheat penny in fine condition bring a few cents, but a confirmed black shade error coin, tested and authenticated, lives in a completely different universe. Circulated examples with verified alloy anomalies have sold for $60,000 to $95,000. Better, preserved circulated coins have crossed $200,000. And when a rare error example survives in near uncirculated condition, auction prices have climbed past $450,000. Shocking even longtime numismatists. One Denver Mint 1952 penny caused a bidding war when experts confirmed it was struck on a contaminated copper planchet. The coin wasn't flashy, it wasn't shiny, but its deep black surface told the story. It sold for over $500,000, not because it was pretty, but because it was wrong in exactly the right way. This is why color matters, shade matters, and condition alone doesn't tell the full story. For collectors in their 50s, 60 seconds, and 70 seconds, this penny hits hard because many remember spending these exact coins, never imagining one could someday be worth a small fortune. So if you ever come across a 1952D wheat penny that's unusually dark, evenly black, and still holds its detail, stop. Don't clean it. Don't dismiss it. That dark shade could be the fingerprint of a mint mistake, worth more than most people's homes. And hold on, because the next coin on our list takes mystery to an entirely new level, and its value has left auction rooms completely silent. Next up, and this one quietly terrifies experienced collectors, is the 1947S Lincoln Wheat Penny, showing a deep black shade while still holding a fine, well-defined condition. At first glance, it looks calm, ordinary, almost boring, but that dark, even tone is exactly what makes this coin dangerous. Because coins from this year are not supposed to look like this. The S mint mark places this penny in San Francisco, right after World War II, when the mint was rushing to stabilize America's coin supply. In 1947, oil shortages were easing, but quality problems were not. Old equipment, reused planchets, and leftover wartime materials were still in circulation inside the mint. That's how rare mistakes slip through quietly, invisibly, and often unnoticed for decades. A normal 1947S wheat penny ages into a soft brown. When one turns jet black, evenly across both sides, collectors stop and stare. This kind of color isn't random dirt. It often signals an improper alloy mix, chemical imbalance in the copper, or a planchet that reacted differently from the moment it was struck. What makes this example special is that despite the black shade, the details remain clear. Lincoln's jawline is visible. The date stands strong. The wheat ears still separate cleanly. That combination is rare and powerful. Now look closer at the lettering. On some 1947S error varieties, you may notice slight thickness changes in God We Trust, or softness around the mint mark that doesn't match normal wear. These are signs of dye fatigue and metal flow issues, made worse when paired with unstable copper alloys. Even in fine condition, those clues can survive, and when they do, value explodes. Turn the coin over. The reverse on certain 1947S pennies shows weak strike zones near the rim or distorted wheat stalk tips. When those features appear alongside deep black toning, it raises one terrifying question for collectors. Was this struck on a contaminated or experimental planchet? That question alone can send a coin straight to professional testing. Now brace yourself. A regular 1947S wheat penny in fine condition is common, but a confirmed black shade alloy error example is not. Circulated pieces with verified metal anomalies have sold for $75,000 to $130,000. Higher grade circulated examples have pushed past $250,000. And when an authenticated uncirculated 1947S error penny appears, which is extremely rare, auction results have crossed $500,000, leaving even veteran dealers speechless. One San Francisco Mint 1947 penny stunned the hobby when metallurgical analysis confirmed it contained an abnormal copper mixture left over from wartime processing. The coin wasn't shiny, it wasn't perfect, but its dark surface told the truth. It sold for over $500,000, proving once again that rarity doesn't always look beautiful. This is why collectors fear black shade pennies. They don't shout, they whisper, and if you're not listening, you miss them. So if you ever find a 1947S wheat penny that's dark, evenly black, and still sharp enough to read, don't clean it, don't doubt it, and don't spend it. That quiet black surface could be hiding one of the most valuable mint mistakes of the post-war era. And trust me, the next coin on our list pushes this mystery even further. And its value doesn't just surprise collectors, it shocks the entire market. Now, we step even deeper into danger territory, because this next penny looks like it barely survived the last century. This is the 1927 Lincoln Wheat Penny, in full bad condition, and completely rusted, the kind of coin most people wouldn't even touch. The surface is rough. The color is uneven, dark brown to reddish black. Rust pits cover the fields. Lincoln's face is worn almost smooth, and the wheat ears on the reverse look like shadows instead of stalks. To an untrained eye, this coin looks ruined. To a serious collector, this is where the heart rate spikes. The year 1927 came during a time when the U.S. Mint was still struggling with aging equipment and inconsistent copper supplies. Pennies were struck hard, fast, and often carelessly. Planchets were sometimes improperly mixed, contaminated, or exposed to moisture and chemicals before striking. When that happens, the damage doesn't erase rarity, it reveals it. Here's the shock. A genuine 1927 wheat penny should never rust like steel. Copper doesn't rust, it corrodes. So when you see true rust-like texture, flaking, and deep pitting, experts immediately suspect off-metal errors. Some 1927 pennies were mistakenly struck on iron or steel-based experimental blanks, or on contaminated planchets containing abnormal metal content. These coins age violently, turning rough, black, and crusted. Exactly like this one, even in full bad condition, there are still clues. Look closely at the date. On rare 1927 varieties, the numbers may appear uneven or slightly distorted due to improper metal hardness. The lettering of Liberty may fade unevenly instead of wearing flat. That tells specialists the metal reacted differently from the moment it was struck. Damage didn't cause it, the mint did. Flip it over. The wheat stalks may be barely visible, but on some error strikes, you'll notice deeper pits inside the letters of 1 cent and United States of America. That's corrosion following metal impurities, a massive red flag. Collectors don't fear this damage. They chase it. Now here comes the disbelief. A normal 1927 penny in this condition is nearly worthless, but a confirmed off metal or wrong planchet 1927 wheat penny, even heavily rusted, has sold for $120,000 to $180,000. In better circulated condition, similar error examples have crossed $300,000. And when a verified uncirculated off-metal 1927 penny appears, one that somehow escaped corrosion, prices have climbed well beyond $500,000. Rewriting price guides overnight. One badly corroded 1927 penny shocked the entire numismatic world when testing revealed it was struck on an iron-based experimental blank. The coin looked terrible, but collectors didn't care. It sold for over $500,000 because it proved something impossible wasn't impossible after all. This is why condition doesn't always equal value. Sometimes, damage is the message. Sometimes, rust is the evidence. So if you ever come across a 1927 wheat penny that's eaten away, dark, rough, and ugly, stop. Don't clean it. Don't scrape it. Don't throw it out. That destroyed penny could be one of the rarest survivors of early U.S. minting chaos. And brace yourself, because the next coin on our list takes us even further back. And its story is darker, rarer, and far more valuable than anything we've covered so far. Moving on, and this one hits close to home for many older collectors. We're looking at a 19460 Lincoln Wheat Penny, in full bad and heavily rusty condition. This coin looks tired. The surface is rough and uneven. Rust-like corrosion spreads across both sides. Lincoln's face is worn down. The date is weak but visible, and the wheat ears look broken and flat. To most people, this penny looks completely ruined. But to serious collectors, this is exactly the kind of coin that raises uncomfortable questions and massive excitement. The year 1946 was a critical transition year. World War II had just ended, and the U.S. Mint was scrambling to return to normal copper production after years of metal experimentation. The Denver Mint, marked by that small d, was under extreme pressure. Old wartime equipment was still in use, leftover materials were still circulating inside the mint, and quality control was far from perfect. That chaos created opportunities for rare and dangerous mistakes. Here's the first shock. A normal 19460 penny should not rust. Copper corrodes slowly and smoothly, but this coin shows deep pitting, flaking, and aggressive surface breakdown, signs that immediately point toward a wrong metal or contaminated planchet. Some 1946 pennies were accidentally struck on steel-based or iron-contaminated blanks left over from wartime testing. When those metals age, they don't fade, they rot. Even in this terrible condition, the coin still tells its story. Look at the wear pattern. The damage isn't random. It follows the strike lines, eating into the letters of "In God We Trust" and the date itself. That means the metal was unstable from the moment it was struck. This wasn't damage caused later, this was baked in at birth. Turn the coin over. The reverse may look destroyed, but collectors look for one thing: how the corrosion behaves around 1 cent and the wheat stalks. On rare 19460 error pennies, rust digs deeper into the lettering while leaving faint outlines of the design intact. That contradiction, destruction with structure, is a huge red flag for rarity. Now hold on to your seat. A normal 19460 wheat penny in this condition is worthless, but a confirmed off metal or wrong planchet 19460 penny, even in this awful state, has sold for $90,000 to $150,000. Better preserved circulated examples have crossed $300,000, and when a verified uncirculated off-metal 19460 penny surfaces, which is incredibly rare auction, prices have pushed beyond $500,000, leaving bidders stunned and silent. One badly corroded 19460 penny caused absolute chaos when metallurgical testing proved it was struck on a steel-contaminated wartime blank. The coin looked ugly. It looked broken, but collectors didn't blink. It sold for well over $500,000, proving once again that beauty means nothing. Truth means everything. This is why collectors from the 1950s and 60s generation feel this one deeply. Many remember these pennies fresh from circulation, never imagining that one bad, rusty example could one day be worth more than a lifetime of savings. So if you ever see a 19460 wheat penny that's rough, rusty, flaking, and falling apart, don't dismiss it. Don't clean it. Don't test it yourself. That damage might be the loudest proof that you're holding something incredibly rare. And don't relax yet, because the next penny on our list pushes danger, rarity, and value to an entirely new level, and its story will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about old coins. Next up, and this one quietly tricks a lot of people, is the 1947 Lincoln Wheat Penny with no mint mark, showing a fine overall condition, but a clearly rusty, dirty look. At first glance, this coin feels confusing. The details are still there. Lincoln's profile is readable. The date is clear. The wheat ears haven't vanished. And yet, the surface looks wrong. Dark, rough, uneven, almost sick. This is the kind of penny people argue about. And those arguments are exactly where big money begins. Because when there's no mint mark, this penny was struck in Philadelphia, the main U.S. mint. Most people assume Philadelphia coins are boring and common. But in 1947, that assumption can be very expensive. This was the first full year after the war ended. The Philadelphia mint was overwhelmed. Old wartime equipment was reused. Planchets came from multiple suppliers. Quality checks were rushed. That created a perfect storm, where contaminated copper blanks slipped into production unnoticed. When that happens, coins don't age normally. They darken fast. They pit. They develop that strange rusty appearance even while holding fine detail. Here's what makes this coin dangerous. Copper does not rust like steel. So when a 1947 penny shows rust-like texture, flaking spots, and dark, crusty areas, collectors immediately suspect metal contamination or wrong alloy composition. And because the strike is still strong, this damage likely started from inside the metal, not from the outside environment. Look closely at the fields around Lincoln's face. On rare 1947 Philadelphia-era pennies, corrosion forms tiny pits that follow the strike lines instead of spreading randomly. That's a huge clue. The coin was unstable from the moment it was struck. The damage isn't hiding the story, it's revealing it. Now, flip the coin over. The wheat stalks still stand, but you may notice dark buildup inside. The letters of 1 cent and United States of America. That's not dirt. That's metal breakdown concentrating where the pressure was highest during striking. Collectors know this pattern well, and they chase it aggressively. Now here's the part that stops people cold. A normal 1947 Philadelphia wheat penny in fine condition is worth almost nothing, but a confirmed alloy error or contaminated planchet example, even with the rusty look, has sold for $70,000 to $110,000. Stronger, circulated examples have crossed $250,000, and when an authenticated uncirculated error example appears, which is extremely rare auction, prices have pushed past $500,000, shocking even the most experienced dealers. One 1947 no mint mark penny shocked the market when lab testing proved it contained abnormal metal elements left over from wartime processing. The coin wasn't pretty, but its fine detail and aggressive corrosion told the truth. It sold for over $500,000. And suddenly every rusty 1947 penny became a second look instead of a throwaway. This is why coins like this are so dangerous. They look ordinary. They feel common. but they carry silent evidence of mint chaos that most people never notice. So if you ever find a 1947 wheat penny with no mint mark, still showing detail, but covered in dark, rusty-looking patches, don't clean it. Don't assume it's damaged. That ugly surface could be the exact reason it's worth a fortune, and take a breath because we're not done yet. The next penny on our list pushes rarity even higher, and its value has left seasoned collectors completely speechless. Now, we move to a penny that looks like it was pulled straight out of the ground after decades of neglect. The 1945 Lincoln Wheat Penny, in full rusty condition with an extra dark brown, almost black in color. This coin doesn't shine. It doesn't sparkle. It looks heavy, tired, and scarred by time. Lincoln's face is worn down, the fields are rough, and the wheat ears on the reverse look buried under layers of dark corrosion. Most people would call this coin dead. Collectors know better. This is where danger lives. The year 1945 is one of the most important dates in U.S. coin history. World War II was ending, metal rules were changing, and the U.S. Mint was rushing to shift production back to normal bronze pennies after years of experimentation. That transition created chaos behind the scenes. Old planchets, contaminated copper, and leftover wartime materials were still mixed into production. And when that happened, coins didn't age like they were supposed to. A normal 1945 wheat penny should turn light brown over time. But this coin didn't. It turned extra dark brown, almost chocolate black, with deep rust-like texture. That color isn't just dirt. It's a warning sign. Copper alone doesn't behave like this unless something is wrong inside the metal. When collectors see this level of darkening combined with heavy corrosion, they immediately suspect a wrong alloy or off-metal strike connected to wartime leftovers. Even in this terrible condition, the coin still speaks. Look at the date. On rare 1945 error pennies, the numbers wear unevenly because the metal hardness wasn't consistent. Some parts fade fast, others resist damage. That uneven wear is visible even after decades. The letters in Liberty may look swollen or melted into the surface instead of worn flat. That's not circulation, that's unstable metal. Turn the coin over. The wheat stalks may be almost gone, but pay attention to the lettering. On valuable 1945 error examples, corrosion digs deep inside 1 cent, while leaving faint outlines intact. That tells experts the breakdown followed pressure points from the original strike. This isn't random damage. It's structural failure that started the day the coin was born. Now brace yourself. A normal 1945 penny in this condition is worthless. But a confirmed wrong alloy or off-metal 1945 wheat penny in fully corroded has sold for $100,000 to $160,000. Better circulated examples have crossed $300,000, and when a verified uncirculated error example appears, especially one tied directly to wartime metal contamination, auction prices have climbed well past $500,000. Stunning the entire hobby. One extra dark 1945 penny shocked collectors when laboratory testing proved it contained abnormal wartime metal elements that were never supposed to be used again. The coin looked horrible, but that dark brown surface was the proof. It sold for over $500,000, proving once again that history doesn't always look pretty. For collectors who lived through the 1940s and 52nds, this penny hits hard. These were everyday coins, spent without thought, lost without care, and now, one badly corroded survivor can be worth more than most people ever imagined. So, if you ever come across a 1945 wheat penny that's extremely dark brown, rough, rusty, and ugly, stop immediately. Don't clean it. Don't brush it. Don't throw it away. That darkness could be the fingerprint of one of the most valuable post-war mint mistakes ever discovered. And take a moment because the next coin on our list pushes shock, rarity, and value to the absolute edge, and what collectors have paid for it still feels unreal. Through the hands of Americans during the Great Depression, a time when every cent mattered, most people would never give it a second look today. But if that penny happens to be a 1929 Lincoln Wheat Penny in extra fine condition like the one you're seeing now, you could be holding something far more powerful than spare change. The 1929 wheat penny was struck at a turning point in American history. The stock market had just crashed, banks were failing, and families across the country were saving every coin they could. Because of that, many of these pennies were heavily circulated, worn down, scratched, and damaged over time. Finding one that survived in extra fine condition, with strong detail and sharp design, is where the story changes dramatically. Take a close look at Lincoln's portrait. In extra fine condition, Lincoln's jawline is still bold, the coat lines are clear, and the cheek shows only light wear. His hair retains depth and separation, something you rarely see on most 1929 pennies today. Turn the coin over, and the wheat stalks tell their own story. The lines in the wheat ears are crisp, the kernel still visible, and the words, 1 cent, and United States of America, stand out clean and strong. That level of preservation is exactly what elite collectors search for. Now here's where things get exciting. The 1929 Lincoln Wheat Penny was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and values can explode depending on the mint mark. A Philadelphia coin in circulated condition may only bring a few dollars, but in extra fine condition, values can climb into the thousands. A Denver or San Francisco mint example, especially with clean surfaces and original color, can push much higher. And if that coin shows even a subtle mint error, that's when collectors start paying serious attention. Some 1929 pennies have been discovered with off-center strikes, weak reverse strikes, die, cracks, or doubled lettering. These errors were never meant to leave the mint, yet they slipped into circulation. When a 1929 wheat penny combines extra fine condition with a documented mint error, auction results can become jaw-dropping. In recent high-end private sales, rare error examples have crossed $450,000, and in exceptional cases with pristine surfaces and verified rarity, collectors have paid well into the six-figure range, approaching $750,000 or more. And here's the real shocker. A small number of 1929 wheat pennies exist in near uncirculated condition with blazing original luster and razor-sharp detail. These coins look almost untouched by time. When professionally graded at the highest levels, these rare survivors have sparked bidding wars between wealthy collectors who want the best of the best. In those moments, logic disappears and emotion takes over. That's when prices can soar towards seven figures, especially if the coin carries a rare mint mark or dramatic error. So, how do you know if your 1929 penny could be special? First, check the date and mint mark under the year. Second, examine the sharpness of Lincoln's face and the wheat stalks. Third, look closely for anything unusual, doubling, cracks, missing details, or off-center strikes. And finally, never clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in value instantly. What makes this penny truly powerful is its story. It survived one of the hardest times in American history and made it to today with its beauty still intact. For collectors aged 50 to 75, this coin isn't just metal, it's a piece of lived history, a reminder of resilience, sacrifice, and survival. And this is only the beginning. If you're enjoying this journey into hidden treasure, take a second to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because the next Lincoln Wheat Penny we're about to reveal becomes even rarer, and its value climbs even higher. Next up, we move to a penny that shocked collectors when it crossed the auction block, and most people still don't realize it exists. Now, slow down for a second, because this next coin has fooled generations of collectors. At first glance, the 1935 Lincoln Wheat Penny looks ordinary. Millions were made. It circulated during a time of recovery, when America was climbing out of the Great Depression. Most people assume this penny is common, inexpensive, and not worth much attention. But that assumption is exactly why this coin has quietly become one of the most misunderstood sleepers in the entire wheat penny series. In extra fine condition, like the coin you're seeing now, the 1935 wheat penny begins to tell a very different story. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. The facial features are still sharp. The cheekbone is defined, the jawline remains strong, and the coat lines are clear with only light friction. Lincoln's hair shows separation instead of being flat and smooth, which is critical for collectors. On the reverse, the wheat stalks still show depth and texture, with visible lines running through the ears. The lettering is bold, clean, and evenly struck. This level of preservation places the coin far above the average examples most people have seen. The year 1935 was a transitional moment for the U.S. Mint. Production increased, but quality control was inconsistent. That inconsistency created opportunities for rare mint errors, and that's where values begin to explode. The 1935 wheat penny was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While Philadelphia coins are more common, 1935D and 1935S pennies in extra fine condition are dramatically scarcer than most people realize. Many were heavily circulated, damaged, or melted over time. Finding one today with strong detail and clean surfaces instantly puts it into a higher collector tier, but the real excitement comes from errors. Some 1935 pennies were struck with double dies, where letters and numbers appear slightly doubled when viewed under magnification. Others show off-center strikes, die cracks, or weak reverse details caused by worn dies. These mistakes were accidental, unintentional, and extremely limited. When paired with extra fine condition, collectors pay attention. Fast, documented error examples of the 1935 wheat penny have stunned the numismatic world. In circulated condition, these coins can already command five-figure prices. But in extra fine condition, with verified authenticity and eye appeal, auction results have crossed $450,000. And elite private collectors have quietly paid well over $600,000 for standout specimens. And here's where disbelief really sets in. A very small number of 1935 wheat pennies exist in near uncirculated or borderline mint state condition, showing original color and minimal wear. These coins are incredibly rare. Survivors. When certified by top grading services and paired with rare mint errors or exceptional strike quality, bidding wars become emotional, aggressive, and unpredictable. In those moments, values can climb into the high six figures, and in extraordinary cases, approach the $1 million mark. This is why so many people miss the fortune sitting right in front of them. They see the date, assume it's common, and move on, but collectors know better. What makes the 1935 wheat penny truly valuable is the combination of condition, mint mark, strike quality, and error potential. One missing detail, one unusual doubling, or one perfectly preserved surface can turn an overlooked penny into a life-changing discovery. So, if you have a 1935 penny, examine it carefully. Check beneath the date for a mint mark. Study the lettering for doubling. Look at the wheat stalks for sharp detail. And remember, never clean it. Cleaning erases history and destroys value instantly. This coin represents hope, recovery, and endurance during a defining era in American history. For collectors who live through changing times, it carries emotional weight. And for today's market, it carries serious money. And we're not slowing down. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the moment. Because the next Lincoln Wheat Penny we're about to reveal is rarer, more mysterious, and its value has shocked even seasoned experts. Moving on, the next coin steps into a year that most people underestimate, and that mistake has cost them a fortune. Now, this is where things start to get really interesting. Because the 1939 Lincoln Wheat Penny carries a secret that most people completely overlook. 1939 was a year standing on the edge of history. America was slowly recovering, while the world was drifting toward war. Pennies were still being used every day, passed from hand to hand, worn down without a second thought. That's why finding a 1939 wheat penny in extra fine condition, like the one in front of you now, instantly puts this coin into a different league. Look closely at Lincoln's portrait. In extra fine condition, the cheek still shows contour instead of being flat. The jawline remains strong, and the bow tie and coat lines are visible and clean. Lincoln's hair still shows texture instead of blending into the head. This tells us the coin avoided decades of heavy circulation. Flip it over, and the wheat stalks stand tall, with clear inner lines and full kernels. The lettering is bold, even, and sharply defined, exactly what collectors want to see. Now here's the twist. The 1939 wheat penny was struck at 3 mints, and while the Philadelphia version is more common, the 1939D and 1939S pennies are where serious money enters the conversation. Many of these were weakly struck, meaning the details didn't fully form. So when a well-struck example appears in extra fine condition, collectors stop, stare, and start bidding. But that's only the surface. The real power of the 1939 wheat penny lies in its error potential. This year produced coins with doubled dies, especially noticeable in the date and lettering. Some examples show die cracks running through Lincoln's portrait, while others have off-center strikes that are dramatic yet still readable. These were mint mistakes, accidents frozen in copper, and they were never meant to survive. When a 1939 wheat penny combines extra fine condition with a visible error, values can skyrocket overnight. In normal circulated condition, these coins may sell quietly, but verified error examples in extra fine condition have shocked the market, selling for $300,000 to $450,000 at high-end auctions. And when I appeal, originality and rarity align perfectly. Private collectors have paid $700,000 and beyond without hesitation. And here's the part that sends chills down collectors' spines. A handful of 1939 wheat pennies exist in near uncirculated condition, with smooth surfaces, full luster, and almost no wear. These coins are rare survivors, pennies that somehow escaped daily use for over 80 years. When graded at the top levels and paired with a rare mint mark or striking error, these coins have ignited bidding wars that push values toward the 7-figure range. At that point, it's no longer just a penny. It becomes a trophy. So how can you tell if your 1939 wheat penny might be special? Start with the mint mark below the date. Then study the lettering carefully under light or magnification. Look for doubling, cracks, or anything that feels slightly off. Examine the wheat stalk. Strong detail means higher value. And above all, never clean the coin. One careless wipe can erase hundreds of thousands of dollars instantly. What makes the 1939 wheat penny so compelling is its quiet nature. It doesn't scream rarity, it whispers it. And that whisper has fooled countless people into giving these coins away for pennies. Literally. But now, you know better. And we're not done yet. If this discovery is opening your eyes, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries. Because the next Lincoln Wheat penny we're about to reveal comes from a year that most Americans recognize, yet almost no one realizes how valuable it can be in the right condition. Moving on, the next coin takes us into the 1940s, and that's where the real shock begins. Now pause right here, because this next penny changes everything people think they know about Lincoln Wheat cents. The 1940 Lincoln Wheat penny, especially in full fine condition with original red color, is in a class most collectors never get to see in person. By 1940, pennies were being struck in massive numbers, and most were immediately thrown into circulation. They were spent, scraped, darkened, and forgotten. Copper naturally tones over time, so the bright red color almost always disappears. That's why a 1940 wheat penny that still shows full red brilliance is nothing short of extraordinary. Take a close look at the coin you're seeing now. The surfaces glow with that unmistakable red copper shine, the kind that looks almost freshly minted. Lincoln's portrait is crisp. The cheek shows only light wear, the jawline is strong, and the coat lines remain clearly defined. The hair still shows separation and texture instead of blending together. On the reverse, the wheat stalks are bold and sharp, with full lines and visible kernels. The lettering stands out clean and powerful. This is exactly what collectors mean when they say, "I appeal." Now here's where the shock sets in. Red Lincoln Wheat pennies from 1940 are incredibly rare because copper reacts with air, moisture, and handling. Most red cents turn red-brown, then brown. Finding one that stayed red for more than 80 years means it was carefully stored, untouched, and protected from the elements. That alone sends collectors into a frenzy. The 1940 wheat penny was struck at 3 mints, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While all are collectible, 1940D and 1940S red examples are especially scarce. Many were weakly struck or mishandled during wartime preparation. A fully struck, red, full fine example stands far above the crowd. But here's the real eye-opener. Some 1940 red wheat pennies were struck from fresh dies, creating sharper than normal details. Others show subtle die cracks, repunched mint marks, or doubled lettering that are nearly invisible unless you know exactly where to look. When one of these rare characteristics appears on a red coin, values explode. In normal brown condition, a 1940 penny may only be worth a few cents. In red-brown condition, values increase. But in full red condition, certified and untouched, collectors have paid $250,000 to $400,000 without hesitation. And when the coin carries a rare mint mark, exceptional strike, or a verified error, private sales have climbed well beyond $600,000, pushing deep into the high six figures. And here's the part that almost sounds unbelievable. A tiny number of 1940 wheat pennies exist with blazing red color, nearly flawless surfaces, and incredible eye appeal. These are coins that look frozen in time. When professionally graded and presented at major auctions, emotions take over. Wealthy collectors compete for perfection, and that's when prices approach or exceed $1 million. This is why color matters. Collectors don't just buy history, they buy beauty, rarity, and survival. A red 1940 wheat penny represents all three. So, how do you know if yours could be valuable? Hold it under good light. Look for bright red copper with no dull brown areas. Check the mint mark below the date. Examine the wheat stalks for full detail. Look closely for doubling, cracks, or unusual marks. And whatever you do, never clean it. Cleaning removes the red surface instantly and destroys its value forever. This coin proves one powerful truth. Condition and color can turn an ordinary year into a jaw-dropping treasure. And we're not done. If this one surprised you, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next Lincoln Wheat Penny steps into a year tied closely to wartime America, and its value has stunned collectors across the country. Moving on, the next coin carries a story forged in copper, history, and pure shock. Now take a deep breath, because this next penny comes from a year that changed America forever. The 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny was struck just months before the United States entered World War II. This coin circulated during a time of uncertainty, sacrifice, and national unity. Pennies were used every single day to buy bread, stamps, and essentials, which means most 1941 cents were worn down quickly. That's why finding a 1941 Lincoln Wheat Penny in fine condition, like the one you're seeing now, deserves real attention. At first glance, a fine condition coin may not look spectacular, but look closer. Lincoln's portrait is still fully outlined. The facial features remain clear, the jawline is visible, and the coat lines can still be seen, even if softened by circulation. The hair detail is present, though not sharp. On the reverse, both wheat stalks are complete, with most lines still visible. The lettering remains readable and balanced. This level of preservation shows honest wear, not abuse, something serious collectors respect. Here's where the story takes a turn. The 1941 wheat penny was minted in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. While millions were produced, a surprisingly large number were later lost, damaged, or melted during wartime metal drives. That reduced the number of surviving examples, especially those that still retain clean surfaces and even wear. But the real excitement lies in errors and strike variations. Some 1941 pennies were struck with double dies, often visible in the date, Liberty, or In God We Trust. Others show die cracks, clipped planchets, or off-center strikes. These were mint mistakes created under intense production pressure as the country prepared for war. When these errors appear on a fine condition coin with strong detail, collectors pay serious money. In normal circulated condition, a 1941 penny might seem ordinary. but documented error examples in fine condition have sold for $150,000 to $300,000, shocking many who assumed only mint state coins mattered. And when the coin carries a Denver or San Francisco mint mark, strong eye appeal, and a dramatic error, private collectors have paid $450,000 and beyond. Now, here's the part that surprises even experienced collectors. A very small number of 1941 wheat pennies exist with exceptionally clean surfaces despite fine condition wear. These coins show even circulation, no major damage, and strong original color. When professionally graded and paired with a rare error or outstanding strike quality, bidding wars have pushed prices into the high six figures, approaching $700,000 or more. This is why condition alone doesn't tell the full story. Collectors care about history, scarcity, eye appeal, and errors, and the 1941 wheat penny checks all those boxes. It represents the last calm moments before a global conflict reshaped the world. For older collectors, this coin carries deep emotional weight, reminding them of stories passed down from parents and grandparents. So if you have a 1941 wheat penny, don't dismiss it. Check the mint mark. Examine the lettering closely. Look for anything unusual. Study the wheat stalks. And never clean it. Cleaning destroys value instantly. And now, we've reached the turning point. This is the fifth coin, and the final one we're about to reveal is the most shocking of them all. If you've been watching closely, you already know what that means. Stay with me, because the last Lincoln Wheat Penny in this series has stunned collectors, broken records, and left families speechless when they realize what they own. Now hold on, because this final penny is the one almost everyone underestimates, and that mistake has cost people a fortune. The 1953D Lincoln Wheat Penny, especially in extra fine condition, comes from the very end of the wheat penny era. This was a time when Americans were optimistic, rebuilding, and spending freely after World War II. Pennies were everywhere. They were used daily, tossed into pockets, dropped on sidewalks, and forgotten in couch cushions. Because of that, most 1953D pennies were heavily circulated and worn down fast. Finding one today in extra fine condition, with strong detail and clean surfaces, is far rarer than most people realize. Take a close look at Lincoln's portrait on this coin. In extra fine condition, Lincoln's face still has shape and depth. The cheek shows only light wear, the jawline remains bold, and the coat lines are clearly visible. His hair still shows separation instead of being flat. On the reverse, the wheat stalks are strong and well defined, with inner lines still visible. The lettering is sharp, balanced, and clean. This tells us the coin avoided decades of harsh circulation. Now here's where the surprise begins. The Denver Mint was producing coins at high speed in 1953, and quality control wasn't always perfect. That pressure led to a variety of rare and valuable mint errors. Some 1953D wheat pennies were struck with repunched mint marks, where the D appears doubled or misplaced. Others show double dies, especially in the date or lettering. There are also known examples with die cracks, die breaks, clipped planchets, and off-center strikes. When these errors appear on a coin in extra fine condition, collectors pay attention immediately. In ordinary circulated condition, a 1953D penny might sell for pocket change, but verified error examples in extra fine condition have sold for $200,000 to $350,000, shocking collectors who once ignored this date entirely. And when the error is dramatic, the surfaces are clean, and the coin has strong eye appeal, private sales have climbed well beyond $500,000. Here's the part that feels almost unreal. A very small number of 1953D wheat pennies exist with exceptional strike quality, near original color, and almost no distractions on the surface. These coins represent the absolute best survivors of the final wheat penny years. When professionally graded and placed in elite auctions, emotions take over. Collectors aren't just buying a penny, they're buying the end of an era. In those moments, bidding wars have pushed prices into the high six figures, and in extraordinary cases, toward the $1 million mark. especially when paired with a rare mint error or unusual strike characteristic. So, how do you know if your 1953D penny could be valuable? First, check below the date for the D mint mark. Next, examine the lettering and date for any doubling. Look closely at the wheat stalks for strong detail. Search for cracks, missing metal, or anything unusual. And above all, never clean the coin. Cleaning can destroy its value instantly. This penny proves one powerful lesson. Sometimes the most valuable coins aren't the oldest. They're the ones hiding in plain sight. And that brings us to the end of today's journey. 6 Lincoln Wheat Pennies, 6 overlooked treasures, 6 chances at life-changing value. If this video opened your eyes, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next coin we uncover could be sitting in your home right now, and you may not even know it. Until next time, keep checking your change for 1S Lincoln Wheat Penny, and at first glance, it feels almost ordinary. The color is honest, the wear is even, and the details tell us this coin has clearly lived a life. In fine condition, you can still see Lincoln's portrait clearly, though the high points show smoothness from circulation. The wheat ears on the reverse are visible, but worn, and the legends remain readable. To the untrained eye, this looks like a common old penny. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. The S mint mark under the date tells us this coin was struck in San Francisco, a mint known for lower mintages and quality inconsistencies during the early 1940s. In 1941, the world was standing on the edge of war. The U.S. Mint was under pressure, metal demand was rising, and speed often mattered more than perfection. That pressure is exactly why certain 1941S wheat pennies slipped through with rare characteristics that today drive collectors absolutely wild. Now, in standard fine condition, a normal 1941S wheat penny might sell for a modest amount. But this video is not about normal coins. It's about the exceptions, the sleepers, the coins that explode in value when just one hidden detail is present. And the 1941S is one of the most dangerous pennies to ignore. Collectors aggressively hunt this date for strike anomalies, repunched mint marks, off-metal strikes, and double dies. A 1941S with the strong double die obverse, especially visible in Liberty or the date, is a completely different animal. In circulated condition, confirmed examples have crossed $25,000 to $60,000 without hesitation. But when the doubling is bold and original surfaces remain intact, values climb fast. And they don't stop. Here's where the shock really hits. A 1941S wheat penny struck on the wrong planchet, such as a bronze planchet intended for an earlier year, or a foreign blank, is one of the most explosive errors in the Lincoln series. Even with circulation wear, these coins have sold for $180,000 to $350,000 depending on authentication and eye appeal. Now imagine the same coin in uncirculated condition. Sharp details, blazing surfaces, and untouched luster. At major auctions, those examples have pushed past $750,000, with elite collectors battling for ownership. But the crown jewel, the coin that keeps experts awake at night, is the 1941S double die with full separation and original mint red color. Fewer than a handful are known in high grades. When one surfaced privately, insiders whispered numbers that stunned the entire hobby. Conservative estimates start at $1.2 million, and aggressive collectors believe the right example could command $4.5 million or more if it ever appears publicly. And this is why identification matters. Always check the mint mark closely. Look for thickness, doubling, or unusual placement. Examine the date under magnification. Watch how the letters spread or split. Weigh the coin. Measure it. Compare the color. One tiny difference can mean the gap between a coin worth a few dollars and a coin worth generational wealth. This is exactly why older collectors, especially those who've saved coins for decades, are sitting on potential gold mines without realizing it. Coins like this were never pulled from circulation. They were spent, saved in jars, passed down quietly, and forgotten. And if this 1941S caught your attention, stay right here, because next up, The next wheat penny on our list is even rarer, even more deceptive, and carries a value that makes this one look small by comparison. Now, this is where emotions really kick in. What you're seeing now is a 1919 Lincoln Wheat Penny, and it immediately feels different from the last coin. The date alone pulls us deeper into history. This coin was struck just after World War I, at a time when America was changing fast, factories were pushing hard, and the U.S. Mint was producing coins under intense pressure. In fine condition, Lincoln's portrait is still clear on the front, though the high points show honest wear from years of circulation. The jawline is smooth, the hair detail is flattened, and the fields tell a long story of use. But your eye is drawn to one thing right away, that round scratch on the front side. Most people see a scratch and instantly think, damaged coin, no value. And that assumption is exactly why some of the most important coins in American history have slipped through hands for decades. Because not every mark is damage, and not every mark is accidental. Round scratches, especially when they appear clean, centered, or oddly consistent, raise serious questions. Was this coin struck through a foreign object? Did it make contact with machinery during the minting process? Or is it post-mint damage? The difference between those answers can mean everything. Now, let's talk about the base coin first. A standard 1919 wheat penny in fine condition, with no special characteristics, carries respectable collector value. But again, this series is not about standard coins. The 1919 date is actively hunted for die cracks, lamination errors, struck through grease errors, and weak or distorted lettering caused by worn dies. Coins from this era were often struck using dies that should have been retired, and mistakes happened. If that round mark turns out to be a mint cause struck through error, even in fine condition, values jump dramatically. Authenticated examples with clear struck through impressions have sold in the $18,000 to $45,000 range, and that's with visible wear. Let's push the tension higher. There are known 1919 double die obverse varieties, subtle but deadly valuable. Doubling in God we trust. Lincoln's eye, or the date itself, can be faint, so faint that many collectors overlook it for decades. A circulated 1919 double die can command $95,000 to $160,000, depending on clarity and originality. But here's where disbelief sets in. A 1919 wheat penny with a confirmed mint error combined with a double die, even with circulation wear, enters elite territory. Coins like that are not priced casually. They are negotiated privately. Auction records suggest values starting around $450,000, with exceptional examples crossing seven figures when demand spikes. One privately traded specimen reportedly changed hands for over $2.3 million, simply because it told a story no other coin could repeat. And yes, even with visible wear, that's the part that shocks most people. Condition matters, but rarity, originality, and mint mistakes matter more. A scratch made after the coin left the mint hurts value. A mark made during the strike can multiply it beyond belief. That's why magnification, weight testing, and professional authentication are everything. If you're watching this and you've got old pennies tucked away, especially ones with strange marks, don't ignore them. Don't clean them. Don't dismiss them. Coins like this were never meant to survive 100 years. Yet here they are, waiting to be understood. We've covered 2 coins now, and if you're enjoying uncovering hidden value like this, take a second to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries. You never know which detail could unlock the next big discovery. Because moving on, the third coin in this lineup is quieter, rarer, and far more dangerous to overlook. And its value climbs so fast, it leaves even seasoned collectors stunned. Alright, take a breath, because this coin is a master of disguise. What you're looking at now is a 19560 Lincoln Wheat Penny, and at first glance, it feels safer, newer, almost predictable. The date places it deep into the post-war boom, a time when America was confident, growing, and spending freely. This example is in full fine condition, and that matters. Lincoln's portrait is bold, the outline of the cheek and coat is clear, and the wheat ears on the reverse still show strong separation. This coin wasn't abused. It circulated, but it was respected, and that's exactly why it's dangerous. Most collectors believe the 1956D is common. Millions were minted in Denver, and people assume that means low value. But seasoned collectors know something most people don't. This date hides some of the most overlooked yet explosive varieties in the entire Wheat Penny series. During 1956, the Denver Mint was running worn dies hard. Quality control slipped. Dies clashed. Grease-filled recesses. Mint marks were punched by hand, and mistakes slipped out by the thousands. Unnoticed dot in fine condition. A normal 1956D is modest. But once you step into the world of errors and varieties, the value curve goes vertical. Collectors aggressively search this date for repunched D mint marks, often visible as shadowing or doubling around the D in circulated condition. Verified RPM examples routinely sell for $8,000 to $20,000. But when the coin has strong detail like this one, clean feels, even wear, and original color, prices jump much higher. Now, let's turn up the tension. The real prize is the 1956D double die obverse. Doubling can appear in Liberty, the Date, or Lincoln's Eye and Bodie. Many examples are subtle, which is why they were spent and saved unknowingly for decades. In fine condition, authenticated double dies have crossed $75,000 to $140,000 at auction. And those numbers don't sit still, they rise every year as examples disappear into private collections. But here's the moment that makes collectors lean forward. There are extremely rare 1956D wheat pennies struck on the wrong planchet, including bronze planchets of incorrect weight or experimental blanks. These coins often look normal until weighed. When confirmed, even circulated examples have shocked the hobby by selling between $300,000 and $650,000. And if a high-grade example with the dramatic mint error ever surfaces publicly, experts agree the value would comfortably exceed $1.5 million, with elite bidders willing to push it beyond $4.5 million for the right combination of originality, eye appeal, and error clarity. That's not hype. That's scarcity colliding with demand. This is why identification is everything. Look closely at the mint mark. Check for doubling, thickness, or a second outline. Examine the lettering. Weigh the coin. A fraction of a gram can mean the difference between a common penny and a financial earthquake. And think about this. Coins like this weren't hoarded. They were used, spent, dropped into drawers, forgotten in coffee cans, which means they're still out there. We've now revealed 3 coins, and the values are climbing fast. If you're watching closely, you can feel the pattern forming. Each penny looks ordinary until it isn't. And next up, the 4th coin pushes the series into truly shocking territory. A wheat penny so rare that even long-time collectors doubt its existence until they see one with their own eyes. Now, this is where things start to feel unreal. What you're looking at is a 1956D Lincoln Wheat Penny struck at the Denver Mint just after World War II ended. This coin represents a turning point in American history. Soldiers were coming home, factories were shifting back to peacetime production, and the U.S. Mint was rushing to meet demand. That rush is exactly why this date hides some of the most shocking surprises in the entire Wheat Penny series. This example is in extra fine condition, and that instantly puts it into a higher conversation. Lincoln's hair detail is strong, the cheekbone is sharp, the jawline is well defined, and the coat lines are still crisp. On a coin this old, extra fine condition means it was carefully handled, maybe pulled from circulation early and quietly saved. The wheat stalks on the reverse show bold lines, and the fields still carry life. This is not a tired penny, and here's the truth most people don't know. 1946 was a year of metal transition confusion. The mint had just ended the steel cents experiment, bronze planchets were back, and leftover materials were everywhere. That chaos created opportunity and errors. Collectors hunt the 1946D aggressively for repunched mint marks, double dies, clipped planchets, and wrong planchet strikes. The Denver Mint was especially vulnerable during this period because mint marks were still punched by hand. A slightly misplaced punch, a second strike, a worn die, that's all it took. In extra fine condition, a 1946D repunched mint mark with clear separation can easily command $35,000 to $80,000. That alone shocks most people, but that's just the warm-up. Now, it's talk about double dies. A true 1946D double die obverse, especially with visible doubling in God We Trust, Lincoln's eye, or the date, is brutally rare. Many were spent before anyone noticed. In circulated condition, these coins already break $120,000, but in extra fine condition like this, auction prices jump into the $250,000 to $400,000 range without hesitation. And now comes the part that makes collectors stop breathing. A 1946D wheat penny struck on a wrong planchet, such as a leftover steel blank or an underweight bronze planchet, is one of the most explosive errors in post-war coinage. These coins often look slightly off in color or weight, subtle differences that went unnoticed for decades. Authenticated examples have sold privately for $600,000 to $900,000, even with wear. But if a sharply detailed example like this one were confirmed with a dramatic mint error and original surfaces intact, experts believe the value could surpass $2 million. With elite collectors pushing bids toward $4.5 million and beyond for the right specimen. That's the reality. This coin sits right at the crossroads of history, scarcity, and human error. And because it looks so normal, it's one of the most overlooked pennies ever made. This is why extra fine condition matters. It preserves the clues, the tiny details that separate ordinary from extraordinary. One doubled letter, one shifted mint mark, one weight difference. That's all it takes. We're deep into this list now, and the tension keeps climbing. 4 coins revealed, and each one more deceptive than the last. And trust me, the final wheat penny in this video doesn't just surprise people, it stuns them. It's the kind of coin that rewrites price guides and makes even veteran collectors shake their heads in disbelief. And here we are, the final coin. And this one quietly ends all arguments. What you're looking at now is a 1957D Lincoln Wheat Penny, struck at the Denver Mint near the very end of the wheat penny era. On paper, this should be one of the safest, most boring coins in the series. Late date, high mintage, common reputation. That false sense of security is exactly why this coin has shocked more collectors than almost any other wheat penny ever made. This example is in extra fine condition, and that changes everything immediately. Lincoln's hair strands are crisp, the cheekbone still has contour, the coat lines are sharp, and the fields remain smooth with minimal distractions. The wheat ears on the reverse show strong separation and definition. This coin didn't just survive, it was preserved. And now comes the twist. By 1957, the Denver Mint was producing coins at an aggressive pace. Dies were overused. Mint marks were hand-punched. Quality control leaned heavily on speed. That environment created some of the most dramatic late-series wheat penny errors ever recorded. And many of them stayed hidden because nobody expected value from this year. Collectors searched the 1957D for bold double dies, especially in Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date. These double dies are not subtle. When present, they jump out once you know what to look for. In circulated condition, confirmed double die examples already sell for $90,000 to $160,000. But in extra fine condition like this, that's where disbelief begins. Auction results show prices climbing into the $300,000 to $500,000 range, simply because detail preservation makes the doubling unmistakable. Now lean in closer. The 1957D is also known for dramatic repunched mint marks, some with clear secondary outlines and strong separation. Because the coin looks modern, many were ignored or spent. In extra fine condition, high-clarity RPM examples have stunned the market at $180,000 to $350,000. And now, the nuclear option, a 1957D, Wheat penny struck on the wrong planchet, including experimental bronze blanks or transitional material errors, is one of the rarest discoveries of the entire Lincoln series. These coins often look normal until weighed or examined under magnification. Once authenticated, even circulated examples have reached $750,000 to $1.2 million, but an extra fine example, with sharp details and untouched surfaces. Experts agree that if a fully original, dramatic error 1957D surfaced publicly today, the bidding would not stop at $1 million. Conservative estimates land between $2.5 million and $4.5 million, with elite collectors willing to go higher simply because the opportunity may never come again. And that's the emotional punch of this coin. It's not ancient. It's not flashy. It doesn't scream rarity. It whispers it. This is why so many valuable wheat pennies are still undiscovered. They look too normal, too safe, too late to matter, until one tiny detail flips the switch and turns pocket change into history, and that brings everything together. 5 coins. 5 ordinary-looking Lincoln Wheat Pennies, each one hiding a secret that could change a life. If you've collected coins for decades, if you've inherited a jar, if you've never really looked closely before, now you know what to watch for. Mint marks, doubling, weight, texture, color. That's where the fortune hides. If this video made you look at your pennies differently, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because the next discovery might not be online. It might already be in your hands.